Hi everyone, this is Stuart Klassen with White Line Athletics. Today we're going to talk about 10 tips that you can incorporate every day at the workplace to decrease strain on some of the muscles that typically get strained while you're sitting at a desk all day, also improving your posture, keeping you a little bit more mentally alert. You don't have to incorporate all 10 of them right away. You can start with just a couple of them, see how they go for you, incorporate a few more, and you'll probably find you'll notice results very quickly. Okay, tip number 1, maintain a neutral spine while you're sitting at the workplace. Posture is very important, not only when you're sitting at work all day, but when you're doing exercise, when you're gardening at home, all the time. The better posture we can maintain, the less stress we put on tissues around our spine, so the intervertebral discs, the muscles around the spine, the ligaments around the spine, and the stronger we will keep the muscles that help support our spine as well. So this is a fairly common posture that we hear about, is the rounded forward position. So I'm in a flexed position, rounding in the upper spine, also rounded at the low spine, and my head is poking forward, and I'm working at my computer. We're going to try and counteract that bad posture by making sure we sit up nice and tall. We can think of turning our tailbone out behind us, chest up nice and tall, nice and proud, and pulling your chin back as well. If you hold this position, you might feel the muscles at the back of the spine activating, and they're working because they are actually holding you up in position. Keeping both feet on the ground is easier to maintain a neutral position as well. So if I have my legs crossed, I'm most likely going to round at the low back. Tip number 2, retract your shoulder blades at all times. When I'm sitting at the desk, I may roll my shoulders forward, okay, and that will usually follow with spine flexion or bad posture at the spine. So what I want to do is get the tall posture from tip number 1, but then also drawing the shoulder blades back. We also have some exercises that we can do to help strengthen the rhomboids and the mid-traps, which are the muscles between the shoulder blades. All I have here is a nice little band from White Line Athletics, but you can use any elastic band that provides a little bit of resistance. You should be fine. Get the tall posture, draw the shoulders down, so think of shoulder blades down into your back pockets, and then you're going to spread the elastic apart and then back in. We don't have to get all the way out to a T if your elastic doesn't allow you to get that far. You could also do this one standing because we're seated all the time already. So standing position, draw the shoulder blades down into the pockets and pull apart. You can go through 15 repetitions of those, take a break, or do one of the other exercises in our tips, and then come back and do a second set. Do it once in the morning, do it again in the afternoon, a couple times throughout the day. Tip number 3, stretch your hip flexors every day. When we're seated for a long period of time, there are some muscles in the body that tend to get very tight, and that tightness can lead to other complications down the road. So one of the main muscles that we want to target for office workers is a muscle at the front of the hip. It's called the hip flexor or the hip flexors. When they get really short and we go back into a standing position, they can pull the pelvis out of position. If they pull the pelvis out of position, then that is going to pull the spine out of position, and that can lead to low back pain. So if I want to stretch my right side hip flexor, that knee is on the chair. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to step forward with my left leg. And probably the most important thing on this stretch is making sure that you tuck your tailbone in. So take your pelvis and tuck your butt in, or tuck the tailbone in, and then you can start to lean forward, pushing forward from the right hip. You should start to feel a light stretch coming through the front of the right hip. And if you squeeze your glute or contract your glute muscle or your butt muscle, that will also help to increase that stretch. Any of the static stretches that we show for this video can hold it for 30 seconds to a minute per side. And again, you can repeat these a couple times throughout your workday. Get it done every single day. Tip number 4, stretch your pecs or your chest muscles every day. When we're typing at the keyboard, we're in this rolled forward position and all the muscles at the front of the shoulder get very tight. We're now going to stretch out the muscles that come through the front of the shoulder. You could do this in a doorway, standing up. You have a little bit more leverage, but I'll show it here just seated for the sake of the video. Elbows shoulder height. I'm going to have my hand up in the air, and what I want to do is I want to move my body forward so that the elbow gets pulled behind me. So essentially my arm is getting pulled back. And that is going to eventually bring you stretch through the front of my shoulder. I can even turn away from that stretching arm, and that will increase the stretch as well. Holding for 30 seconds to a minute, both sides. Do it every day, and we can do it multiple times a day as well. Another way that we can stretch out the pecs is to do it bilaterally, or both sides at the same time. So I'm just lying on a 3-foot foam roller here. We open up the arms, make sure the palms are turned up to the ceiling. Again, tall posture, and I'm just letting my arms fall down towards the floor. If you want to progress these, you can go into angel slides or arm slides or W's, where we get the elbows down towards the floor, and then you start to make sure the elbow is bent at 90 degrees, and then we start to rotate the shoulders, dropping the wrist down towards the floor. You might not get down to the floor, and over time that's the goal, is to get them down there. Making sure that we keep the neutral spine. So the tendency for this is for the spine to pop up off the roller. You want to keep that pulled in. So keep the abs engaged, dropping the wrist down towards the floor, and then you can even glide the arms up and down, trying not to let the wrists or the elbows come off the floor. Tip number 5 is stretching out your forearm muscles. Another common issue that we see with a lot of office workers is carpal tunnel syndrome or other related issues around the wrist area. We're always typing in this same position with the fingers having at the keys, and so we want to make sure that we are relieving some of the strain or stress in those areas by stretching the muscles at the front of the forearm in the flexors, and the muscles at the back of the forearm in the extensors. So here's a quick and easy stretch that you can do at the desk. Grab hold of your fingers, palm facing forward, and you're drawing the fingers towards the back of the forearm. This is going to bring a stretch through the forearm flexors at the front here. So we want to make sure we get the extensors stretched as well. Grabbing the fingers again, but this time palm is facing you and you're pulling the fingers in towards the front of the forearm. And now the stretch will come through the back of the forearm. Tip number 6, stretching out your neck or your upper trap muscles. If you ever experience headaches or migraines at the workplace, there is a good chance that that tension is caused by tight muscles up here in the neck. If you're typing, oftentimes we hold our shoulders up, we shrug, and we activate those traps. They get very tight, they get overactivated. That can put pressure on the arteries, on the nerves around the area, and that can lead to the tension headaches that you might be experiencing. So we're going to stretch out the upper trap muscles, and over time that should decrease the amount or the frequency or the intensity of the headaches that you experience, and perhaps even get rid of them altogether. I'm going to bend my head to my right. Already I might start to feel a stretch coming through the neck. I also want to think of taking my left hand and driving it down towards the floor. So I'm creating that distance between my left shoulder and my left ear. If you want to increase the stretch slightly, you can use your right hand or your free hand and put a little bit of tension on the head. Just be cautious here that you're not pulling too hard. Hold it for our typical 30 to 60 seconds. You can repeat this multiple times every day, and make sure you do both sides. Tip number 7, do your back a favor, get rid of the chair and sit on an exercise ball. There are a lot of advantages to sitting on an exercise ball while you're working at the desk. With the chair, it's very easy to get into those comfortable but bad postured positions, putting a lot of strain on your spine and the discs between your vertebrae. And the longer you're in that position, the more stress that is placed on those tissues. We're going to get rid of this chair and have a ball. Now the ball should ideally be an appropriate size so that when you're seated, you're approximately 90 degrees at the knees and hips. This one's actually a little bit deflated for me. I would want to pump this one up a little bit more. The nice thing about the ball is I don't have something to lean back against, so it's a lot easier to force yourself to stay up into a good posture, good seated position. Another good thing is you can roll around on the ball. And rolling around on the ball is wonderful for the low back, the tissues around the spine, because we're constantly moving the vertebrae around, so we're not putting long-term pressure in one area of the discs and other tissues and just holding it there for hours on end. Our body doesn't like that very much. Our body likes moving, it's designed to move. Try to make sure that you do maintain good posture, because just because you're sitting on a ball doesn't mean you have good posture. I can sit with bad posture on a ball, so you still need to be aware of tip number 1, posture position. Tip number 8, even though you're at the office all day, move as often as you can. Try to find 2 minutes here, 5 minutes there, even 30 seconds getting up and moving is going to do wonders for the body. It also refreshes your mental capacity, it gets the blood flowing, and it gets you out of that fatigue, slumped in front of the computer sort of state. So whether you have an app on your phone that rings every 15 minutes or 30 minutes or hour, or you got a sticky tab, what are those called? Sticky papers, sticky notes on your computer that says, hey, get up and move, moving, whatever works for you. Just try to get up and move as best you can. If you can stand while you're reading notes or documents as opposed to sitting, then that's great. Maybe you only sit when you actually have to be typing. It's one of the best habits you can get into incorporating into your daily work life is just use the body, because that's what it's designed to do. Tip number 9, break out the foam roller any spare second you have. This is called a foam roller. There are many different kinds, many different lengths, different densities. Mostly it's going to cater to your tolerance for discomfort, because foam rolling is very much like going to see your massage therapist, and they're getting in there and they're working away your tissues to try and remove scar tissue, break up adhesions, get muscles to relax that are very hypertonic or overcontracted. If you go to our White Line Athletics YouTube page, you can see lots of videos on how to foam roll different areas of the body or which foam roller to use. For a very quick demonstration of what it looks like, so you know what to do with this sort of thing. Foam rolling an IT band, very common, very typical area to foam roll. I'm slowly going back and forth over the tissue, making sure I don't go over any joints. It shouldn't be very painful. You should be able to tolerate it. It should be somewhat uncomfortable to comfortable, not painful. And generally spending about a minute or 2 minutes on a muscle group before you move on. See how the body responds, and then go from there. And finally, tip number 10 is taking care of all those things outside of the workplace. Exercise, sleep, diet, and stress. Regular exercise will help keep the muscles strong, improve your cardiovascular system, decrease your levels of stress, improve your mental capacity, your mental focus, and your productivity at work. Just the list goes on and on in terms of benefits of exercise. So whether that is a fitness class at a local gym, whether that's just going to the gym on your own, doing stuff at home, doing stuff outside, there are many options to get fit, get active. You can check out the other White Line Athletics videos on loads of exercise tips if you don't know where to begin. Also making sure that you're taking care of things such as getting proper and good quality sleep, proper diet and nutrition, and managing levels of stress will also complement your quality of work, how you feel at work, your productivity at work, and just your overall wellness. That's it for our 10 tips. Thanks very much for watching. Please subscribe below. Leave any comments or questions that you might have on this video. Be sure to check out our channel for all other videos related to exercise, as well as more videos like this. Thank you all very much. I'm Stuart with White Line Athletics. Until then, stay safe in the workplace.